producers from CNN, which really brought this home to me. Back in, I think, June or so, Joe Califano's think tank, CASA, put out one of their, I see a few people know about CASA, I heard that his is, put out one of their periodic reports that they do, basically saying marijuana is horrible and it will kill all your children. And most of the press had the good sense to ignore it, which is exactly what it deserved, except CNN. They gave it a big spot, they gave it like 3 or 4 minutes, repeated it a couple times, completely unskeptical, basically treated all of this hysterical nonsense from CASA as if it was revealed truth. So, and one of the things, there were a whole bunch of things that were exaggerated and blown out of proportion and misstated, including the notion that marijuana causes lung cancer, which, you know, Paul very eloquently debunked a few minutes ago. So I sat down and I composed a pretty long and detailed email to their medical producers and the reporter who did the story, basically saying you need to retract this, laying out point by point a bunch of the stuff they got wrong, and heavily emphasizing the cancer stuff. And to their credit, later that day they called me and I ended up spending about half an hour on the phone with them. And during this conversation, I pointed out that they would have done better by their viewers and not let so much questionable stuff go out over the airwaves if they talked to somebody who is skeptical about the war on marijuana. And the answer was, and I'm quoting this word for word, but we vetted everything through NIDA. Now, honest to God, these two people who were not, they weren't interns, they were pretty senior level folks covering medical stories for CNN. It had never occurred to them that on a marijuana story, NIDA might not be impartial. We're talking about people here who are so used to looking at things through a certain frame, a certain lens, that they don't even know other lenses exist. You know, so we're yelling at people sometimes for not running when they have not yet learned to crawl. A few minutes later in the same conversation, we're talking about the cancer stuff, and I pointed out a number of different studies and reviews that have concluded that marijuana is not a cause of lung cancer, one of them being the famous 1999 Institute of Medicine study. And one of these producers said, but that was 1999. With the increased potency, it's a whole different drug now. Again, had no idea that she had just repeated a government talking point that has essentially no basis in fact. And not to mention the fact that even if it was true, anything in marijuana that might be carcinogenic is the tars and junk in smoke. If you've got more cannabinoids and less smoke, you're going to reduce any cancer risk. So the basic premise was illogical anyway. So anyway, the point of all this is that we're often dealing with a level of ignorance that to most of us is just staggering. And we can say they should do their homework, they should know better, they should be skeptical of the government, and they should in fact do all of those things. But we need to teach them how. And if you try, you're not always going to succeed, but sometimes you do. So don't give up. Thank you.